Girls of Reddit, what is the creepiest thing a man has said to you in public? This old man, probably 60-something, told me I looked exactly like his favorite porn star. Oh no, when I was 13, a guy grabbed me by the wrist and he said, "Hey sexy, wanna come with me so I can show you something? I love bad girls like you." I was so stupid that I was still worried about being rude and apologized to him for saying no, but when he tried to fully grab my arm I just ran. I was waiting for an Uber home from a theater in Boston after rehearsal one night. It was after 11 p.m. This black car that matches the make and model on the app rolls up, stops by the curb and rolls down the window. Guy inside asks if I'm waiting for Uber. I say yes and ask his name to see if it matches. He says, "I'm Uber, get in." At this point I'm creeped out, alone on a street corner close to midnight. I refuse and he says, "I'll give you $300 if you get in this car right now, we're going to a party." At that point I turned around and booked it back into the theater. Absolutely not getting kidnapped today, folks. Check your plates before you take your Ubers. A homeless guy once told me he wanted to throw me in a bathtub full of Jell-O and make love to me. Edit, I laughed really hard when this happened. Who knew I'd get so much mileage out of it 20 years later? You don't get a view like that every day. I was 10, and bending down to get something off a lower shelf at the grocery store. I was wearing a new lower cut shirt but forgot to wear my training bra that day. The guy was mid-40s probably. His wife was with him, she looked like she was about to cry. I never wore that shirt again. Edit, wow, this blew up while I was away. For those saying it's not possible for my chest to develop that quickly / my parents shouldn't have let me out in that shirt, the shirt was from Limited Too. My breasts weren't actually that developed, hence training bra, this guy was just a pervert. I did tell my dad after we left the store. He told me what the guy did was sick and wrong, and that next time something like that happened, tell him immediately. I had rainbow-colored hair as a teenager. One time at work a 60-plus-year-old customer said to me, "Does the carpet match the drapes?" Never mind, you probably don't have any down there. I've never been so uncomfortable. Said I would make a good wife for someone like him while staring at my chest. In front of his wife. I was at work and this guy later flat out asked me to marry him. I was 17 at the time. I wanted to die. Not so much what was said at first, but the insistence, and continuing to walk with me on my route for like 20 minutes, that I must save his email address. Words alone are creepy on occasion, but it's the absolute worst when there's an element of being trapped. I was working, doing the whole "how are you" bit to a customer. He said, if I was any better I'd be twins. Normal so far. And they'd be female. And hot like you. Sir, do you mean to tell me you'd want to bang your twin sister? Had an older man ask me to stir his mixed drink with my finger to make it sweeter. This was at a fancy-ish dinner party my family attended. I was 13, this guy was around 50. He went on to make a joke about me eating a sucker later on, something about blowing pop. Still makes me nauseous after 20 years. I was 14, out shopping at an Aeropostale when these two dudes approached me. They had to be in their mid to late 20s. They followed me around the store and kept asking me to try on the mini skirt I had picked out, asked me where I lived, my name, and just generally kept following and harassing me. I was super freaked out, hoping that my mom and brother would come back to the store soon to get me out of there. I was waiting for the train and had my hair in pigtails. Guy in his mid-30s came to me and asked what high school I went to. I told him I didn't go to high school, I was about 26-ish at the time. He looked real disappointed and walked away. Wasn't really creepy until you think about the fact that he wanted me to be in high school and was disappointed that I was not underage. I was young, probably like 19. I went into a gas station to pay, and the clerk said to me, "Look at you dressed like a little slut." I was in a skirt and shirt. I was really shocked, and the only one at the store. When I didn't say anything back he said, "You get off turning men on, don't you?" I got so scared. I also lacked the confidence back then to shut it down. Thank God someone else walked in and the clerk gave me back my change and I went on my way. Oh, and once when I was a teen I was waiting for my mom at a store. I decided to swing my bare feet out the window and lay back and nap. All of a sudden I felt someone tickling my feet. It was an old man. So creepy. I was chillin' with this dude at a party-ish thing while deployed once. I'd mentioned a few times that I had a girlfriend back home, and he seemed cool and we had a lot in common, so we were fast buddies. Until about 4 AM or so, when we're all sitting by a fire, and he asked if he could hug me. Drunkenly, I was like, okay, whatever. But then he asked if he could kiss me. And I was like, nah dude, I have a girlfriend, I'm gay as hell, you know that, haha. And his face went real cold and he said, until I catch you walking back to your dorm alone later. I honestly could have cried, I was so scared. Thank F a group of dudes I recognized walked past a few minutes later to go get early morning French toast at the chow hall, so I tagged along fast as I could. Never saw that dude again. I was wearing a Marshall Lee the Vampire King shirt. One old dude told me that he liked my shirt, I said thanks. He then says he likes it because it makes him think about me biting him. I was shocked. I said nothing. Luckily my friend clapped back and was like, F off bro, your wife doesn't even wanna bite you lol. Glad I had someone there with me. Had a 65+ co-worker who was simply disgusting. Poor hygiene, raggedy ass greasy beard. Told me he had a Viagra in his lunchbox and that he'd pay for a room after work so I could ride him all evening. I told him no thanks. Went immediately and told our supervisor, who literally laughed and said, well, you know he didn't mean it, you're not even hot. I was in Paris at a Christmas market and a guy came up to me and told me I was very beautiful. Before I could say anything back, he said, you know, I've been following you for a while and saw your friends walk away from you. I could kidnap you so quick, they would never see you again. Then he laughs, and my friend, who was only like 8 feet away and heard this exchange, pulls my arm and we start fast walking away. We cut down so many alleys, popped in and out of shops, and got on different trains since it was nearly impossible to know if he was still following us. ETA, there were 3 of us and while we really have no idea if he had actually been following us for a while, we assume he had been around long enough to know we spoke English, since he didn't approach me speaking French. I was walking down the street toward a bar to meet some friends one night. A man drove by me once, then turned his car around and drove ahead of me and parked up the street. He walked toward me on the sidewalk, then when he reached me, turned completely around to walk beside me. At first he tried to be friendly and suggestive. When I wouldn't respond, and tried to walk faster to get to the bar, he told me he was going to put me in his car and take me to a special place. I started to run around a corner. He ducked behind the building there and cut me off ahead. I ran full speed across a busy street to the nearest CVS, which was open 24 hours, and called my boyfriend who sped over to pick me up. When we walked outside, the man was waiting by the exit with his front and rear car doors open, like he was waiting to force me into his back seat. Was walking with my friend and a random dude said to her, "Hey cutie, I like the way you walk." When we ignored him he said, "I see how it is. We're high school kids, barely 5 feet tall." He followed us for 2 blocks before we made it to a crowded crosswalk. I was in Walmart and some creepy guy came up to me and my sister and pointed at his junk in sweatpants, clearly not wearing underwear, and asked if we wanted to touch it. Now I refused to go to Walmart. A guy asked me what cup size they were. I've also been asked how much by random assortments of men driving while I was walking to work, in work clothes, which was a t-shirt and blue jeans because it was a retail store. I also got told by a very boisterous gentleman in a Land Rover baby that is black man approved. And when I looked around thinking someone else had to be on the street I heard, "No baby. I'm talking about you." I actually laughed at that one though, so I don't know if it counts. At work, was taking off my sweater cause it was too hot in the office. By the time I'd hung my sweater over the back of my chair, a colleague, middle-aged, I'm 26, whom I'd only seen a few times and had only said good morning to so far, was standing next to my desk and said, "I'll just wait here to see if she continues." He was talking to my mentor but looking at me, when I, shocked, said, "Excuse me." Him, "You're not going to continue?" Me, incredulous at this point, "No." Him, smiling, "That's too bad." After watching him exchange smiles with my mentor, I politely told him that he was very inappropriate and I'd appreciate him not saying things like that again. He said he wouldn't, but that small smile was still on his face like he didn't take it seriously. The creepiest thing about it was how unfazed both him and my mentor seemed by the whole interaction.